everybody, and welcome to the Ivy League, a Chicago Cubs podcast. My name is Marco Santana, one of the three fanboy hosts of the show. Ethan Davis, Rob. Ethan's coming from Illinois. Rob, you are in Georgia. I am down here in beautiful sunny Florida. How are you guys doing? How you guys been? It's been a couple weeks. What's going on?
Been good, man. It's definitely ready for a spring and warmer weather. Living in Northern Illinois, that's for sure.
Yeah, I want some cooler weather. It's 90s down here now, so I need some cooler weather. But no, Rob, how you doing, man?
I think Georgia's had snow since our last episode.
Yeah, it's been crazy stuff.
That was pretty wild, but we're making it. We're making it.
We got snow.
Excited about all the news and pitchers and catchers coming up.
Yeah, that's the thing. We are almost there. I mean, this is our third episode, and we've been doing this now for more than a month, and now we are getting into we actually have to know what the hell we're talking about, right? So coming up very shortly, pitchers catchers reporting. We're getting more clips from the baseball field, which is awesome. Getting more interviews. We saw Craig Counsell on. We saw just really cool to see these guys back in the camp. We've seen some new faces. Today, we are going to talk about some of those new faces. We're going to talk about rumors, new faces, old faces, what they're going to do this year. Ethan, what are you excited about for this year? Just a real quick, briefly.
Well, I think you brought up Craig Counsell, and I think there's something about him that I'm excited for. I think he knows that he kind of embarrassed himself last year by underperforming, not making the playoffs. His predecessor winning a manager of the year. I think he's going to have a new fire under him, and I think he's going to pass that along to the players. I want to see Craig Counsell get ejected at least 5 or 6 times next year. That's what I want. When something's not going your way or somebody hits your player, you got to get out there, man. He just let too many bad calls. Just, whatever. I'll walk back to the dugout.
Let's make a note of that. I want this to be over under on the show before the season starts. What are the over under of Craig Counsell ejections? See how that plays out. Rob, how are you doing, man?
All right.
We're good. What am I looking forward to?
Yeah.
To be honest, I'm looking forward to the revamped pitching staff.
Right.
There's projections out there that put us in the runnings for top in at least. Projections got us at least top in the NL Central. We got probably one of the better pitching staffs in at least most of the NL.
Yeah.
Besides the Dodgers,
maybe the Dodgers who have mortgaged the farm to get everybody there. But
yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm excited. I think this week was kind of we won by losing. I feel the last couple of days. Alex Bregman, of course, we were talking about him last week. Everyone was talking about him the last several weeks. I stuck by my philosophy. I don't get excited or upset at anybody until we're signed. That's it. So I never really was like some people were super excited that Bregman was coming. Ethan, man, that's a big freaking number, man. Everyone's claiming victory, both sides, obviously, but I think the winners are. I'm with you. The winners are the ones who did not sign him for that much money.
Yeah, for those that don't know, obviously, me and Marco were talking a little bit before the episode, and we were talking just about this Bregman deal. And I think $40 million AAV for a Red Sox team, especially that has many more holes that some of that money could have been used to address. And we offered him 4 years, $120 million, so $25 million AAV. I think even that was probably a tad too much. He's been in steady.
30.
Yeah, he's been in steady decline. Especially with the short park, short and Houston, where they're used to just being able to whack
porch.
Yeah, porch. Sure. Yeah, I couldn't think of that.
Yep.
But yeah, I think he's just not going to do as good in Fenway, and I think he wouldn't have done that great in Wrigley for, I should say, $40 million good at Wrigley.
It's very interesting.
$40 million good.
Rob, go ahead.
No, I don't think he. I don't think he would be $40 million good. I don't particularly love that we offered him 30.
Yeah.
It's high. He's he's a great player, and I think he's gonna put up some interesting numbers in Fenway.
Yeah, I think he'll be good.
I just don't get it for the Red Sox. Don't they have a third baseman?
I mean, they need a splash, right? I mean, the Yankees are just making these deals, and I think the Red Sox need a splash, and I almost feel like it was a panic signing a little bit. Not that
it was.
Yeah.
And did you guys see that picture of the Red Sox owner with the cigar, acting like he just pulled Mike Trout out of a Rule 5 draft? Like, get out of here.
Yeah, that's not much to celebrate when you're. I mean, that's one of the things where you pay that much money, you better win all 3 years, or at least win the postseason all 3 years.
I'm just more mad that Boras got a client big money late in the season, because it's just going to encourage more of his clients to wait it out and wait for somebody to be desperate enough to do something, and that's just not it's just not conducive to like proper team building when you're waiting until pitchers and catchers report to sign hitters.
Ethan, I saw you posted on the Facebook board about just how this signing, it kind of showed that Boras' power is kind of waning a little bit. Even though he got a lot AAV, he's usually getting that 6-7 year deal. I should say 2-3 years ago, he was getting those 6-7 10-year deals.
Well, you got to think he had players that were kind of worthy of that 6 or 7 years. The Cody Bellingers, the Alex Bregmans of the world, they're above average. You don't know what you're going to get 3 years from now. And Bregman's at that age already. He's showing steady signs of decline. I think he would have been great on a 2-year deal. But this also says to me that, okay, they're either going to go out and trade for a pitcher from the Padres, whether it's Dylan Cease or Michael King, or they're saving that money to sign a midseason extension for Tucker, which I would also be fine with, because you don't trade some of your best prospects for a guy for 1 year when you're not a World Series contender.
And that was the next kind of thing I was going to ask about, because you see what the Cubs reportedly offered, and where does that money go now, right? And I know Council's already said post Bregman signing that I think it was an interview today or yesterday with Elise Menaker, maybe, that basically that they're pretty much done. There's not going to be any big. That was their last kind of major target. There's still a couple guys out there, but now kind of what do you do with that money? And Ethan, you're right. I mean, that could be what signs Tucker to a long-term deal, and that might be something that if he shows some worth early in the season, that could be a really big option for sure.
Well, if you're looking at taking whatever money was going to be allocated to Bregman and moving it over to Tucker, then that's good news for Matt Shaw, right? Because he gets the opportunity, a little bit more free of an opportunity to make a run at starting third baseman on the major league team.
Right.
And then on top of that, there's talks about us looking at Justin Turner, right?
Yeah. Well, I don't the whole Shaw thing is interesting. I don't have a feeling on Shaw like I had a feeling on Bush last year. I'm just saying I've not been up to date enough on Shaw to really know. But listen, we've got 3 young kids, and if you get a 4th in there, we got a good making of a core for several years forward. So,
and that's how we won in 2016. We had the Addison Russells, Chris Bryants, and Javi Baez's of the world.
Absolutely.
Well, you gotta. I mean, listen, I love Michael Bush. I really do. And you'll never catch me not saying that I love Michael Bush. But that's a 27-year-old. He was 25 and some change or whatever when we traded for him. That's somebody who had been around for a few years in the Dodger system. That's a guy that if you put him out there, you expect him to do at least close to as good as he did.
I don't know. You say that now, but last year there were people calling for him, saying that he's going to be shit.
Yeah, well, I mean, I argued for him because I had been watching him since his North Carolina days.
Right.
I argued for him last year, and I expected him to be just fine.
Yeah.
And he should, as a upper 20s prospect that's been frozen out by the likes of Freddie Freeman and Max Muncy on the Dodgers. He should. Shaw is going into his age 23, and he's got room. He's got a runway now.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. Yeah, I'm not saying it's one and done, man. I think he puts up numbers like Bush, or even like 80% of what Bush had last year, and plays solid defense. We're looking good there at that corner as well.
And people need to give Michael, and I'm not saying you were saying anything bad about Michael Bush, but 21 home runs your rookie year. I don't know. Everybody in the lineup can hit 20 home runs besides your catcher, and you're doing all right. And I think that's what the Cubs have just been lacking, is not just star power, but just power across the board. I think we had 3 over 20 homer guys, and that's just in today's league. You need more power than that.
Listen, how much more do you need to know that? Like, Michael Bush took over. Who was the 2-headed monster? Hosmer and what's his face?
Mancini.
Yeah,
Mancini.
I mean, when you have a team like that,
don't forget Mash Mervis.
I have forgotten about him. Thanks for that.
When you have a Hosmer Mancini platoon, you're hoping for 70 wins, and that's it. I mean, Bush actually he kind of solved that problem, I think. But yeah, I mean, Rob, to your point though, Justin Turner, where do we go next, right? Because I think is this it? Does Turner come on? Is he a 1-year deal guy? Is he a mentor for somebody? Does he give them? I mean, what are your guys' reads on Justin Turner and kind of what we're looking at there? I personally don't. I don't think we need anything else. But he had 260 last year. That was not bad.
I mean, do either of y'all know what his contract was last year?
Yeah,
I don't off the top of my head. This isn't a quiz.
Yeah.
No, I don't.
Okay. Well, I mean, he's a 40-year-old, used to be a third baseman, primarily first in DH at this point, right? That's a guy that we can get for probably pretty cheap. And I say this without having any projected AAV or anything in front of me. I don't know. This is off the top of my head.
Right.
If we can get him for, I don't know, a few million for a year as somebody to mentor Shaw and give Shaw a couple days to decompress, and if he can, cover first base every now and then when Bush is tired, I don't see it as a bad signing. I would have seen him as a better signing last season, truthfully. Right. But I'm ambivalent on Turner.
Yeah, I think if he comes into camp, great. He's got experience. He knows how to prepare. He knows how to teach others how to prepare. So it wouldn't be a bad addition to this team, considering how many young guys we do have. But again, like, if we don't get him, it's like that's okay. Ethan, who else do you see out there that you think would make a good addition to what we have now?
Well, as far as I'm not going to say free agents. I think a trade for a Cease or King would be very helpful. It would, I mean, getting another ace like that. I mean, we're talking 95 wins maybe this year. Honestly, and I don't think after they just signed Nick Pivetta and for a decent contract, which I thought the Padres were trying to shed contracts. So to me, that signals that one or both of those guys are getting traded, and the Cubs should absolutely be in on it. What's the point of prospects if you're just going to hoard them and not play them or trade them?
Yeah, but I think I really like the roster construction. I mean, we're going to talk about this a lot more closer to the season, as we've said before. But like, the roster construction looks pretty good when it comes to a mix of young guys. Pete Crow Armstrong is, I mean, realistically, this will be a second full season, right? But then you got other guys like Tucker and others who've been around. So I mean, there is a real almost maybe a fragility, right? You got to be careful who you bring in. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the end roster shapes up. And newsflash, guys, we're only a month away from breaking camp and going to Japan. That's amazing.
And you know what? I've just got to say this. I know you guys are going to laugh at me, and I know everybody else watching is going to laugh at me. I was watching The Bachelor the other night, and I was getting so into it.
Oh my
And
God, the end.
my fiance,
Cut his mic.
my fiance says, "You are enjoying this too much. You need baseball season back ASAP." I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, I think for your sake, Ethan, I hope it gets here quicker than sooner rather than later.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
You know, one of the things that we're seeing a lot more of, as we were saying, is this whole marquee sports coming back and all these great programs coming on. The Athletic is, Super Bowl's over, right? So let's start talking about baseball, NBA Finals and NHL Finals. If you like those leagues, that's even several months off. So right now, and March Madness is later. Right now is baseball's time. We saw the piece and we shared it together about the Matthew Boyd, right? Talking to Elise Menaker about his pitch selection, his pitches. Watching that he is a smart pitcher, and I'm really excited to see what he can do. You look at his stats, and I think it was 2017 to 19. His numbers weren't great, right? His overall numbers weren't great, but he made 30 plus starts. Now, believe it or not, 2019 is 6 years ago already, and he has not made anything more than 15 starts. So he's got some injury problems, got some injury issues. But last year he did really well. He had 8 games and his ERA in the low 2 or mid 2 or something like that. But what are you? I mean, this guy's being projected as in the rotation. Give me an idea, guys. What do you guys think about him and just his ability to jump in and provide us? I mean, that'd be a phenomenal number 4.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really enjoyed his interview with Elise.
He's smart, man.
It was really eye-opening to kind of how he processes things, talking about just the way he's adapted to the injury. And let's be honest, a lot of starting pitchers get injured. A lot of them. And so going into that injury the way he did and recovering the way he did and coming back the way he did, it really speaks to his resiliency and his intelligence of how to change something about his game to keep him in the game. And I think that'll be really cool to watch as he approaches his first real full season, hopefully, since then.
I remember back in the day, like Kerry Wood, when he had the nasty curveball, but there's a lot of torque in his arm, and so he went down, and he had to redefine how he pitched and ended up becoming a really good closer later on without that nasty pitch because it was. And I think maybe the end of last year is kind of what he uses to get right, to figure out kind of what kind of pitcher he's going to be now, and just it'll be interesting to see. And again, it gives another good arm on the bump. Ethan, what do you think about Matthew and what he can contribute?
Well, I'm going to start off by saying Kerry Wood's injury was a lot of Dusty Baker could not manage pitching staff, and Mark Pryor is also Dusty Baker's arguably to blame for Mark Pryor too. But
not arguably.
But I get back to Matthew Boyd. The big telling thing for me about him right away before the interview, before the middle of the offseason when we just signed him, was the reaction from Cleveland fans on Twitter, on Instagram. They were all like, "Dang, we let him go!" And then I was obviously intrigued by that. Looked at he had a really good postseason last year, and you can have your guys that maybe they're just more closer to average during the season, but some people just have that thing in their head where something just clicks when the stakes are even higher. And I think he's going to be one of those pitchers. And I think anybody that can admit I need to change what I'm doing to get better says a lot about their character.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I think he's a good number 5. And if he's not, we've got Javier Assad and Colin Ray who can definitely eat innings for us too.
Yeah, I think it'll be
and Jordan Wicks and
Yeah,
Ben Brown and
The list goes on.
like I mean we've got a goal.
We forget that last year our rotation was one of the top ERA wise. I believe if I'm not mistaken. Or
No, and
yeah,
our bullpen was too in the second
Yeah.
half when it didn't
Yeah,
matter
It's 30
anymore. So there's
seconds, and I'll
that.
tell you that.
right. And so well, we've got a good base already, and obviously Justin Steele and all the guys at the top. So yeah, I don't think this optimism is misplaced. I think a lot of Cubs fans are excited about seeing, and even again we're talking about the offseason adding arms to that rotation. That's a good thing. I mean, you can never have too many arms. Like Rob, you just mentioned the injuries, and you just never know. It's good that we're like 7-8 deep in the starting rotation to start, and obviously we'll see who shakes out in spring training.
It's a good problem to have.
Absolutely, Ryan Brazier, right? I mean, let's talk. Speaking of that bullpen, right? We are, Rob.
We had the 11th best team ERA in all of baseball.
Yeah, and you wouldn't guess that. I mean,
No.
if you look at how we ended the
No,
I mean, if you watch
not the exemplary season to prove that,
right?
but still, I mean,
if you watch the game the way we did,
third,
I think you would guess somewhere around there. But if you just watch them casually, you wouldn't think that's where they would be. So, what about, you mentioned Rob the bullpen a little bit, and I think we should. It's such not flexible, but ever evolving, right? Now that people are going to start throwing real games, you're going to start seeing people jockey for position. But again, that they stacked arms this offseason, but they were not like many years in the past. Let's get 3 people with Tommy John and see which one pans out. They got them pretty solid arms, and that's going to be good when it comes down to the end of the games.
Yeah. I mean, who did we add this year? We added Brazier, Bird, Eli Morgan.
We've signed a bunch.
Presley, Ray.
There were like 5 or 6.
Steelbar. We've got about between a third and a half of our pitching staff is new.
Right.
But we kept all the guys that did really well for us last year. So I don't see
I'm
any
very curious
realm
to see.
we don't at least meet the standard of last year. And
I'm curious to see who the odd man out is going to be, right? We're not going to carry 20 pitchers into Chicago, or no. Japan, I should say. So I'm curious to see who ends up not going to Chicago, sends down to Iowa. Iowa might have one of the best bullpens in minor league baseball if it looks the way it looks like. But yeah, it's one of the you can never have too many good arms, and I hate continuing to flip out cliches, right? But it's true though; they're cliches for a reason, right? You really can't have too many.
Well, no, and then the thing is, and it happened a lot last year, not too successfully, especially in the first half. But when you have that deep pitching depth in the minors with guys that have major league and minor league options available, you can send them down for a couple of weeks, have them rest more in Iowa. You don't always have to be, because a lot of those relievers arms aren't as durable as some of these powerhouse starters. So I think that's nice to have the ability to do that.
Yeah. So I think we're gonna have guys like Tyson Miller and Ethan Roberts and maybe Thielbar. I know we signed Thielbar this offseason, but I'm signed or traded, whichever. Well, I think he's going to be – I think those couple of guys are going to be some of the guys competing for a spot in addition to any of our prospects, right?
Rob, that's what this does, right? That's what all these signings do. It makes these guys have to step up, and you might have proven it last year, but you have to step up because it's a deeper competition, and a deeper competition – the cream rises to the top and all that crap, right?
Well, you say odd man out. I think Keegan Thompson's probably an odd man out.
Well, we'll see. I mean, he has the potential to just break in the pre. Like I really believe most of these guys have the opportunity. I mean, does he? I don't think he starts as the odd man out. I think he starts with a real shot to make it. Now, if he screws everything up in the spring, of course he will be the odd man out. But there's less of a less margin for error because of how deep the bullpen in numbers is. At least you know what I mean.
I hope he proves me wrong, but I think there's 7 other guys that are far more deserving to be in the bullpen as of right now.
But this spring they have to prove it.
We'll see how it goes.
It's good to have competition, is what I'm saying, I guess.
Yeah.
And I think that brings out the best in people too. That's human nature. If you know that you're competing, I don't know. I think it can amp up the level of play.
Absolutely, and it's hard to imagine a major league ball player not trying their best, but there is that different fire under your ass, right?
I bring you Anthony Rendon.
Well, yeah. Well, we're talking about the rotation and the bullpen, and what I mentioned earlier though was something I want to talk about a little bit, and that is the youth that we have when it comes to the lineup, right? PCA, I can't overstate it. Stud, right? Probably a backup outfielder in the All-Star game at worst, probably this summer. I feel. Michael Busch lived up to expectations. He came from the Dodgers farm system. You knew he had some skills to perform, and he did. I feel he earned the starting spot, and we'll see if he keeps it. Obviously, Miguel Amaya, less of a slam dunk, but still did what he could when he was put in there a little bit longer, or probably did a decent job when he was put in there a little bit more frequently. The question, though, and I think I know the answer that we're all going to say, next man up, right, in the youth movement, because we already mentioned Shaw. Ethan, what do you think about Shaw? Where do you see this guy sliding in when it comes to those 3 who proved last year that they were ready for the big leagues?
I think he's going to have more of a season like Michael Busch. I think 20 to 25 homers is realistic, and I think a batting average between 250, 260, and maybe 2.3 WAR would be my guess. I think he's just going to need some time to develop, but he's crushed every level of the minors. And I don't know. I'm excited about Shaw, but the other young guy who's not so much a rookie anymore that I'm really excited to see progress this year is Javier Assad. I think he is so underrated, and he's such a nice dude. I met him at an autograph signing at Dean's Dugout in Naperville a few months ago. He couldn't have been nicer. Spent time to talk to everybody, and you want to root for good people, and he's got a lot of talent. We just need to work on him getting some more innings because it seems like he's at 100 pitches through 5 innings, and that can be a problem too.
Yeah, and I'm a little outspoken on our board about Javier Assad. I posted.
We both are. we defend that man.
Yeah, man. The thing about I think one thing, and I think I'm going to say this every single week until the season starts, because I think I've said it so far. I'll say it again this week. We don't know what we got with anybody. I don't care who you are. PCA, we think we know him. I guarantee he went out and worked on something this offseason. And if he's going to come back and we're like, holy shit, he does this. He might be pitching this year. I don't fucking know. But there's so many things that you can just build your skill set in the offseason. And that goes with Javier Assad. I guarantee Assad is working on something with the coaches because they're in contact all winter. We act like they leave in October 1st and don't come back till mid-February. They're always talking about what to work on. And then some people don't. I don't know. I don't understand the again. It's not a slam dunk. Javi's not going to throw in a Cy Young Award season. I'm not saying that.
Are you sure about?
I'm sure about that. But I am excited about seeing what's next because yes, his pitch count went up in the 80s, 90s every game by the 4th inning. I'm like, here we go again. Will he qualify for the W? Usually he didn't. But go ahead.
But here's the thing with Assad. His first season with us, he pitched less than 50 innings. He came up and pitched less than 50. I know for a fact in 2023 he pitched 100 and something, but not more than 120 innings. And then last year he pitched just shy of 150. So he's building.
Absolutely.
He's building, and if he can show that he can control the ball for 6 innings, I mean, there's yet again. I mean, dead horse.
And it was funny. It was funny because like
competition is great, right?
Yeah, absolutely. When that discussion was going on, Ethan and Rob, what I looked it up, and like the MLB average like 5.25 innings pitched for starters. First of all, I didn't know it was that low. And Javi was at 5.1. It wasn't like he was some trash that couldn't get 3 or 4, and the whole league was averaging 6. I mean, that was that. And by the way, you're talking about your number 5 starter averaging right below league average when it comes
meeting to league averages.
Yeah,
that's acceptable.
I think so. Ethan, what do you think about just that whole idea of like, it's easy to get bogged down in the stats, right? I'll admit that right now. Stats aren't always the be all end all, but I think he's more reliable than people give him credit for because there are those very high profile. Oh, he barely missed 4 2/3. They had to take him out because he was at 100 already.
Yeah, but when he does pitch himself into a jam too, he does not freak out. He keeps his composure. Right. How many times did we see him in the 4th or 5th inning get himself in a jam and then reel himself back in, finish the inning hard? And
he's the Hector Neris of the starting pitching.
not quite that intense.
And I'm arguing for him, so I shouldn't bring up Hector Neris, I guess. But here's the thing. Like, I think one of the things that I saw The Athletic did an article on the Cubs talking about these young kids, and the one thing that I think they pointed out is that if one of these young guys, including potentially Shaw, can take a jump, which again I'll reiterate, that's what young players do, right? From year to year, they either take a jump or they go down and they're never heard from again. But if one of these guys can take a jump, the Cubs really have a chance. And if 2 of these guys take a jump, I mean, there's the Athletic words, the lineup, they call the lineup potent. So
I think Amaya is going to be the one that jumps. And I know everybody's going to be he got rid of that leg kick. I think he could be close to 260, 15 homers. I'm excited. I think he's going to prove his worth this year.
Yeah, and I don't have the stats with him, but I feel like down the stretch he really, once he started getting a little more mechanically sound, he did improve over the end of the year.
And that grand slam was so awesome last year at Wrigley. That was one of my favorite moments of the season.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm excited, man. Like you just said, Ethan, man. I am, man. So we're gonna post this on the 14th. And that's because it's February. That's only, I think 32 days from opening day. That is phenomenal. I cannot just wait to see that. To see these Cubs jump off. One of the things that we look at every year, especially with the Cubs, it's been this way since I was young. It's this payroll thing, right? I don't know how they manage to avoid paying people. I mean, I guess it's just you don't bid on the really big ones. But they had, again, another stat that came out because everyone nerds out around this time of the year. There's no games to talk about, right? So they start putting articles about everything out there.
Diving into the stats.
Yeah. And one of the things that they mentioned is that the Cubs payroll had the 4th largest drop year over year from last year, which, as fans, I guess let me put it this way, as smart fans, we don't necessarily want them to spend dumb, right? Like $40 million a year, that's insane. But the question
I feel like we've gotten so much better though.
But that's what I'm saying. They have I think the ratio of young to veteran is like better, right? Even the young guys, because they're still on their minor league contracts, right? So does that tell you guys anything? Actually, listen, I think I know what both of you guys are going to say. So let me put it this way. Hold on. Let me tell you what I'm saying. What I'm getting at. This is our chance to say Jed Hoyer is not a dummy, despite the fact that the numbers are going down. I've thought there was a plan since the core group left in 2017 and 18, whatever. I mean, what are your thoughts just on the numbers I just gave you about the fourth largest drop?
Well, I think it's because so many of our starters are still cost controlled. I think that's part of it, like you said, the young to old. And I think they're either saving money to sign Kyle Tucker to the extension, or they're saving some money in their pocket for trade deadline if we're, meeting projections and we are a playoff team. Maybe that's when they'll get the one missing piece. I've seen it happen before.
Yeah, and I think that's that's a game plan for a lot of teams. And we have a weird fan base. I think we just have a very interesting fan base that just it was never satisfied. I think there's so many fans that you can always find someone pissed at everything.
That's true.
So I think absolutely. For me, it makes me wonder about. There's been a pretty a mild push the last few seasons to sign young, soon-to-be superstars to bigger extensions before they're superstars.
Yeah.
Chourio, and of course now I'm having a brain fart when I'm trying to come up with somebody other than Jackson Chourio. But there's been at least a handful of them in the last year or two that have gotten a substantial extension to bring them into their mid-20s, late 20s time frame. And I wonder if we're not waiting kind of sort of to see what happens with Shaw. Because if he comes in and he makes a big splash right away, I wonder if they don't look at just extending him immediately.
Well, that's the thing, right?
I don't know.
That's been the one beef I kind of have with them, though, is that they aren't playing that game, right? And I think now that said, I have been an advocate since several years back saying there is a plan. There is a plan in place. I want to recheck my post because I thought last year was going to be the playoff year. Like if you went back to the 2020 when I was thinking that. But I think I missed about 1 year. I think we're going to make it this year. But that is the whole thing where there is a plan. Everything that whether you like them, and this is what I would always say, whether you like Hoyer's approach or not, and whether you like the plan or not, there's a plan, right? There's a lot of people just assuming, they're over the years, as we've all seen everywhere, not just our board, but every other board, it's, they have no idea what they're doing, what are they doing, why they're signing this guy, that guy. I think they always had a plan, they always plan to stick to it, and now we're seeing if this is the year, this is the prove it year, right, whether that plan worked or not, and that's, is that kind of your guys' take at all, or what do you guys think about just that whole discussion or debate?
Yeah, well, spending the most money doesn't mean you always win. I mean, look at the Mets and the Padres the past few years. But then, when your money can buy you somebody like Shohei Ohtani, well, we can have that conversation too. It does go both ways. Yeah. But I'm just choosing to look at it from the side of they're trying to buy smart, not just automatically buy high.
Yeah.
That's about where I sit, and that's where I've sat for a few years. The big shiny names are nice, and it draws crowds, and it draws maybe to an extent it draws other players of higher caliber. Yeah, but then you show that you're willing to put out that kind of stupid money for somebody, and all of a sudden everybody that wants to come to you wants that same level of stupid money proportionate to their talent level, and that's just not the team. That's not the team I think we should be.
Yeah, I think I think when you look back at a couple years back, the Dansby Swanson signing, which at the time was panned. But that to me was one of the first times I was like, okay, they're trying to do something, and I think looking at that and really, I've seen some chatter as well when we're talking about free agency, talking about getting rid of Nico, and I'm like, why are you even Why is that even a discussion point? Like I think we have up the middle is the most important defensive place on the field, right? And that's just again baseball, whatever, baseball 101, and we have two vacuums in the middle of the infield. What do you guys think about Dansby and Nico? I mean, Nico obviously has got some surgery. We got to figure out how long that's going to be. But I put this in as a discussion point because to me, I don't understand this discussion of even putting anybody at second or short.
Yeah, they're a Gold Glove infield, and you got to respect the defense from both of them. And I think if Dansby Swanson can just be an average hitter,
Yeah.
I would be more than happy with him. And Nico, I want him to quit trying to find his power. He doesn't have it.
Just
I was
hit.
so much.
Just
I was
hit.
so much more happy when he was just a guy that was hitting for a high average. Because if you remember in 23, he got a lot of clutch hits too,
Yeah.
and they were just hits, and it was fine. We won
Yeah.
games by scoring runs. You don't always have to hit a homer. I understand you want more power at second base, but that's just not who he is. So accept him for who he is.
Yeah.
Let him do what he does best, and get the best production out of your player.
Brother, preach.
Yeah. Well, this goes back to what we said before, is that you got Kyle Tucker, you got Ian Happ, you got Michael Busch now, right? You don't know what's going to happen with Shaw. Now that you have PCA will have at least 3 inside the Parkers this year, right? But now that you have some pop in the lineup, Nico does not have to be that pop guy. And I think we mentioned this in the context of Madrigal last year, right? Where he was a little singles hitter in a singles lineup. So you can be that Nico guy where he scores 100 runs in this. Remember when 100 runs in a season was like Ryan Sandberg every single year, like or
Yeah.
and so someone, because he just get on base and then Dawson would knock him in, or later in years Derek Lee would knock in Ramirez or whatever, right? It'd be like there'd be that thing, and I think we're getting to that lineup construction again, where that can be something because Nico can be that slap hitter who approaches 300 every year, plays phenomenal defense, and just kind of is a huge benefit to the team, rather than trying to, as you said, find his power. You've not found your power yet. Let it go.
I think Nico and Dansby up the middle is superb, and it was talked about a lot. I kind of understood before Bregman signed. I kind of understood where people were saying, like, okay, let's go ahead and trade Nico, give second to Shaw, sign Bregman to 3 to 5 years at third. I understood it, like it made sense then, but with where we're at now, unless you're just, I don't know. I can't see a realm in which trading Nico right now would A, make the team better, and B, maximize the value you got from him.
Yeah, the Bregman signing definitely changed the situation for sure, or non-signing, I should say.
You know what I will say about that too? I'm so happy to see the general reaction is, thank God we didn't spend that money. Like, yeah, there's some meatballs like, well, come on, Jed, you're a billionaire, blah, 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 blah. But
why couldn't you offer $43 million? I saw somewhere.
Well, not.
Bro, what?
Yeah, I'm just glad everybody was in agreement. And I think that the hype around Shaw is real. I think there was a decent part of the fan base that was like, yeah, Bregman would be cool, but man, I want to see him play.
Yeah, even some people who were advocating for Bregman were still saying, like, we need Bregman there to teach Shaw, right? Instead of saying, like, we need Bregman there instead of Shaw. So, like, yeah, I do like that. There is almost like an acceptance and almost an advocacy for youth movement, which we're going through. A lot of times that's hard to get fans. But obviously it's taking a couple of years for people to understand kind of what's going on. So.
Speaking of youth, have either one of you guys seen the article? I read it the other day. Canario has been playing some first in exhibition spring training type
I love it.
hit arounds.
I love it.
What do you think about reinventing the not so successful left fielder Canario into a first base left field kind of backup utility guy?
This is going to mean 70% of his at-bats are probably against lefties, right? Because you got Bush at first. And so I think it's going to only do – and Canario's got pop. I mean, he hasn't showed much in the bigs, but when he was healthy, he's got some pop. And the problem is that, he's not, it's just – for him, it seems like every year something happens, right? Whether it's lack of production or whether it's injury or whatever. I'm not just saying it's just injuries. But when you look at the Canario – now most of his at-bats are going to be against lefties probably, and I think that's being a good bat off the bench. And you're not pressured to say – he's been there long enough where you're not pressured to say Canario needs to go down and get them at-bats, right? He's gotten at-bats. Now it's like, can we make him like a super pinch hitter or something like that, super guy off the bench? That's my thing.
Yeah, it's make or break time for him.
Probably, yeah, for sure. So we are looking right now. The injuries are not that bad, right? Assad had a little bit of a tweak. I don't think that's going to be a problem. And again, I think what's important to remember is where we are in the calendar. And this is a lot of the stuff is let's be careful with one of our potential starting pitchers. So,
I shut down for safety. Right?
Yeah.
It's not because it's that bad necessarily.
Right. Now we're gonna see what happens as people start throwing real games. But yeah, there was just a little bit of chatter, and I wanted to kind of address that briefly about injuries. I think we're set up pretty good. Knock on wood, of course. I have a wooden desk, by the way, so there it is. Knock on wood. That's it. We did our part. We did our part to make sure the Cubs win. So there you go. You guys, we have got one thing left to do, and this is a fun one. We are in the ninth inning, as we say, and we like to talk about the innings because we are hilarious, and the other podcasts are not. Tomorrow, pardon me, the day this post, Valentine's Day. Okay, so want to have a little bit of fun with this, and as we head into the season, as we go, 2025, here we go. Big season for the Cubs, big season for Cubs fans, big season for all three of those young kids that were there last year to see if they can sustain it for more than 1 year. It's Valentine's Day, however. You guys have your wives. I do not. But let me ask you guys, if you look at the Cubs roster, who would you – and I'm trying to remember, was this you that brought this question up, right?
No, it was me.
It was Rob, yeah.
But you guys go ahead.
No, who are you guys looking at as your Valentine for the 2025 season? Someone on the Chicago Cubs roster. Let's kind of just talk about who we're in love with.
PCA. I want him to be an MVP candidate next year.
Yeah.
Very kind of sort of unrealistic goals, but that man's just got all the makings of a superstar. Everything you can want. He's got some pop in his bat. He hit for average the last couple of months, and he's so fast and great on the bases. So
this may be a bias. This may be a bias. I'm a Cubs fan, but I feel like he's an arrogant prick, but also lovable at the same time.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
He walks that fine line.
He's got some self-confidence that's off the charts, and you can see. But you know what? He comes through and he performs. He's also funny because you see him some of the videos where he did the thing with the Dansby wig. I don't know if you guys saw that. With the promo, it was pretty hilarious.
The coldest PCA moment, if you haven't seen the clip from a AAA game last year, he got thrown at twice by a 10-year Major League pitcher, and his manager got thrown out defending him, and then he hit a 400-foot homer and absolutely just looked right at the pitcher and just did the bat flip, and then, dude, he was so hyped running around the base. And he deserved it, too. But that's what I'm saying. There's a difference between arrogance and confidence, and he's he's energetic and he brings that energy to the rest of the team too. I feel.
I saw that he had like 4.5 minute walk around the bases. Rob, who you got, man? You brought this up. Who's your guy?
I'm gonna have to go with Tucker. I have to go with Kyle Tucker, newly acquired. This is his prove it year. I want to see him force us to extend or trade. No in between. None of this play the season out and go away quietly while we, throw our prospects at him.
Right.
I want to see him force our hand.
I'm excited, man.
And I think he's just the guy to do it.
It's always nice to have like a new shiny toy, right? I feel like he is the guy that you can really he can pop off for 40 or 30.
Yeah.
Or 30,
and I was gonna say Shaw, but that's everybody's Valentine.
Yeah, not mine. My Valentine is gonna surprise you guys. So my Valentine, because I adore him, and I think he is someone who is a good player, and he cares a lot. Seiya Suzuki. I think that guy, he cares a lot. And as I said, at least on Facebook, I said, our season will be fantastic if Seiya stays in here, doesn't let the external stuff kind of bother him. I think he can do that. I think he has the makeup to do that as a longtime veteran, both in multiple leagues. So that's the guy that I'm like, I'm going to ride with him all year and just say, like, I want to see him. We saw him in the second half last year. He can be a game changer. He can win games on his own with 2 home runs and a double, right? PCA is a good choice about Ethan. Like I said, I would not be surprised if he got three into the Parkers this year. But Seiya Suzuki to me is one of the guys where I think if he's happy, if he's right, I think he has the makeup to be right the whole year. He's the guy that's going to, I think, really get us some W's and he's just so funny too. There's some really funny clips of him. I love seeing him happy. So that's who I adore. That's my Valentine, guys. So we got PCA. We got.
I thought Ethan was going to say Porter Hodge. Honestly.
Hey man, I would go Porter Hodge as well, man. That guy needs some loving, man, because they brought the guy in to push him back where they thought he was going to be the closer.
I think he's excited though. I think he's going to embrace his role. I think him and Presley are going to be an awesome 1-2 combo. I'm excited.
Who wouldn't be excited to be in competition with Ryan Flippin' Presley for the
a guy who thought he didn't have to compete.
World Series champion who closed out a World Series. I think it was Game 6 for them to win it.
I think so. Yeah, I don't remember.
Well, all right, guys. We I heard the MLB app notification. That means we're out of time, I think. But
something just happened. I don't know what it was.
Then we should all check our phone. Okay. Well, the Cubs traded who? Guys, hey, this is a good time again, and I'm excited to get going on the regular schedule here.
Casey and Kevin Alcantara for Dylan Cease and a player to be named later. What?
Right.
Speaking into existence, Rob.
Well, we will be back in 2 weeks, and then after that, we will be every week moving into the season. And holy shit, it's almost baseball season. This is amazing. So far, so good. Hey, we got 3 episodes, and if we do no more, we have our legacy, right? We have 3 hours of awesome baseball talk. So, Ethan, always good to talk to you. Rob, obviously, great to talk to you as well. Anybody who lasted 54 minutes and 32 seconds, thank you for being here, and we will see you next time. So, adios.
Signing off.
See ya.